All right, good morning, everybody, to this wonderful day. Friday, Erev Shabbos, the third day of Adar. It's a wonderful, wonderful day. Let's get our trusted I can't see you all wonderful people. Can you guys see me? Confirming everybody can see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
You guys
I
can
don't
see
put
us?
my picture up.
No. For some reason I can't see my own screen either.
Oh, okay.
So if I can't see my screen, then I will not know if you guys can see the pictures or not.
Oh, I see. Well, we'll have to do it without pictures.
One second, let me pause. Let me stop the share for 1 second. Okay, now let's share screen again. Okay, there we go. Now I'm able to see. Okay. Let's get the book set up.
You have to unblur.
Yeah. Unblur, and then let me also bring this closer so we can all see. Oh, there we go. Now we're able to see. Let me move this.
Marvelous.
Ah, okay.
Simply marvelous.
Now we're able to see what's going on. Okay, let's start. Va'asisa es hamizbeach atzei shitim chamesh amos oirech v'chamesh amos reichev. You shall make the altar of atzei shitim, acacia wood, 5 cubits long by 5 cubits wide. Ravua mizbeach. The altar should be square. V'shalosh amos kamaisei, and it should and its height should be 3 amos. This is this. Oh, we're already past this. Here we are. Okay, now we can see the picture of the Mizbeach, and you can see how it's a perfect square, and it's 3 amos high. Okay. Okay. Pasuk number 2. Va'asisa karnaisav al arba pinaisav. You shall make its horns. That's what it's calling those corner things. The karnais. You should make them its horns. Al arba mimenu tiena karnaisav v'tzipaisa nechashas. And you shall overlay it with copper. Let's look at Rashi. This means that he should not make them the horns separately and then attach them to the altar, but it should actually be one piece, as you can see in the picture, in this circle right over here, how it's one piece, the corner and the rest of the mizbeach. And you shall overlay it with copper to atone for brazenness. As it is said, in your forehead is brazen. Nechusha is a similar word to nechayshas. Pasuk number 3, va'asisa siraisav. We're going to talk now about these pictures. You can see the different kalim, the different kalim. So we have sirais, which are pots, and ya'im, which or ya'av, as it says in the pasuk. But let's read it inside. Vasisa siraisav, ledashnai v'ya'av, umizrakaisav, umizglaisav, umachtaisav, l'chol kelav tas and achaisis. And you shall make its pots to remove its ashes, and its shovels, and its sprinkle basins, and its flesh hooks, and its scoops, and you shall make all its implements of copper. So this is the siraisav. This is the sea rice. The yaim are type of shovels. It looked to me, it looks more like a pan. And mizrakais, the basins, they had it in this way that you can't put them down because you have to hold them the whole time. So I see my hand is blocking. They made it in a way that it doesn't stand on its own like a snow cone. The prongs, that's this thing right over here, and the fire pans, the machtais, are over here. These, this is used in doing the ketores. Okay. A lot of what we said was this Rashi. We just said, let's actually go through a little bit what each thing. So we already said the pots were used to remove the ashes. The shovels in which the kohen takes the ashes. Sorry, the shovels were for the ashes. The sprinkling basins, which were this guy, sprinkling the snow cone looking thing, that was to receive the blood. They had the blood on it. Flesh hooks, sort of bent hooks, with which he would strike the flesh. The hook would be embedded into it, and with them he would turn it over on the coals of the altar. So they use those hooks to turn over the meat and do stuff like that. And then the machtais, the fire pans, they had a cavity in which to take coals from the altar and to carry them onto the inner altar for incense. Because of their function of scooping, they are called scoops. Apropos. Okay, let's go to pasuk number 4. V'asisa loy michbar masei reshes nechoshes. You'll make for it a copper grating. V'asisa ala reshes arba tabois nechoshes al arba ktsoisavs. You shall make on the netting 4 copper rings on its 4 ends. So on the altar, oh, you can't see that high. On the top of the altar, as you can see right here at the top of the page, in very small, or in the bottom of the page, zoomed up picture, it had on the side like a type of, it's called a michbar design. And on each end, on each corner, it had 4 rings, all made of copper.
His mistake.
We're going to see what those rings are for.
Okay.
You should place it beneath the ledge of the altar, melamata from below. And the net shall extend downwards until the middle of the altar. So this picture you can see. The netting is a clearer picture, or in this one, you can also see the netting went to exactly in the middle. Exactly in the middle it went to, and that's where the rings were. Okay. Vasisa badim lamizbeach. Let's get to the badim. The badim are these poles. Vasisa badim lamizbeach, and you shall make poles for the altar. Bade atzei shitim, poles of acacia wood, v'tzefisa oisam nechoshes, and you should overlay them with copper. So the whole thing was made of acacia wood and copper. V'huva es abadim, but tabas, and its poles shall be inserted into the rings, as you can see in the picture. Al state salois on both sides. Al state salois hamizbeach on both sides of the mizbeach. B'se'es oisai, when it is carried. Okay, the next one. Nevuv. luchos tasa isa. You shall make it hollow out of boards. Kasher hera oischa bahem kenyasu. As he showed you on the mountain, so shall you do. Let's look at the Targum Onkelos. Nivuv luchos, as the Targum Onkelos and Yonasan, Targum Yonasan explain, there should be boards of acacia wood from all sides with a space in the middle, but all of it shall not be made of one piece of wood that would measure 5 cubits by 5 cubits, like a sort of anvil, like one solid block. So it's going to be very interesting because there's the hollow panels. They are not covered in copper. So that's why you can see, you'll be able to see the color of you can able to see the acacia wood. And it has these indents to go like on top, to go into these holes, like to basically cover onto the copper. Very interesting. Okay. That ends today's chitas. Tomorrow, I believe it talks about I believe tomorrow is going to talk about the way that the ramp and the other stuff that are in the Mishkan. Okay, let's go to the Tanya. We ended yesterday chapter number 29. Today we're going to chapter number 30. Let's read this note before we get started. In chapter 29, the Alter Rebbe discussed various means of overcoming Timtum Alev, the state of insensitivity in which one's heart is dull and unresponsive to his contemplation of God's greatness. All these methods are aimed at crushing one's spirit, whereby one crushes the cause of the Timtum Alev, the arrogance of the Sitra Achra of the animal soul. Chapter 30, the Alter Rebbe continues this discussion by outlining another method of dealing with this problem. Okay, so we're going to talk about Timtum Alev and how to overcome this problem, a continuation of last chapter. And here is another way to do it. Yasim es libai. One who suffers from Timtum Alev must also set his heart to fulfill Lekayim, to fulfill what our sages say, the Heve Shval Ruach B'fnei Kol Adam, lowly of spirit before every man. This is a known saying, a known Maimer Azal, that we're going to actually, this note is very important in understanding what it means, Shefal Ruach. What does it mean, lowness? Does it mean low self-esteem? Does it mean that you degrade yourself? So let's read this note. Now, a number of commentaries have noted a difficulty in this Mishnaic dictum. For the Hebrew language distinguishes between two types of humility. The first is a feeling of inferiority in comparison to others. The second is the absence of self-glorification, even while recognizing one's superiority, the thought that his superior qualities are God-given gift, and that another man, similarly endowed, might in fact have invested them to a better advantage. Like we talk about Moshe Rabbeinu, that he was the most humble man to ever live. We probably have talked about this, or Rabbi Bucket might have talked about this. What does that mean? He didn't know that he talked face to face to God. He didn't know that he took the Jewish people out. He didn't know his accomplishments. Of course he knew them. He knew that that these accomplishments and these gifts were given by God. And if God had given these talents to somebody else, they would have done just as good, if not a better job. This is how Moshe felt. That's what it means. It's not that he doesn't know what he accomplished or what his gifts, God-given gifts were. The former type of humility is called shvilus, literally lowliness, and the latter is called anivus, an anav. Since the Mishnah deploys the adjective Shefal ruach is explicitly advocating the former type of humility. And here the difficulty arises. Why should one regard himself as being lowlier than every man? Lowlier even than the lowliest sinner. This is why the word shfal is difficult to understand why it's in this pasuk or in this Maimer Hazal. Because of this difficulty, some commentaries interpret the Mishnah as saying, conduct yourself effacingly towards every man. Treat every man with deference as though he were superior to you. So they say the veheve means don't actually consider it. Don't actually think it to be true, but conduct yourself in a way that you treat every person as greater than you. The Alter Rebbe, however, objects to the interpretation, and he learns as follows. Veheve, the word veheve, be'emes la'amitai. It's not just that you act. Be this way, and do not merely act thus in all sincerity. Bifnei chol adam mamish. In the presence of every man, mamish. In the presence of every man, mamish. Afilu b'fnei kal shebekalim. Even before the kal shebekalim, somebody who's completely not learned or observant in any way. So having rejected this interpretation, however, we remain with the original difficulty. How is one expected to regard himself as being lowlier than the lowliest sinner? V'hainu al pi maimer Rabbeinu Zechrona Levacha al tadin es chavercha ad shetagia mekoimai. As we know, another famous Chazal, Maimer Razal, that don't judge your fellow until you have stood in his place. For his place, his physical environment, that's what causes him to sin. His livelihood makes him go to the marketplace every day, all day. And he has to sit at the street corners. The Einav Royais call Hatayvais, and his eyes sees all sorts of temptations. So you don't know what every person is going through. We don't know when we see somebody sinning what his upbringing was, what environment he came from, what home he might have had, what type of struggles he might have in his life. V'ha'ayin roya v'halev chaymin. What the eye sees, the heart desires. So could be he's there. V'yitzrei boyer ketanur boyerei me'oifai. Additionally, it may be spiritual. Maybe his spiritual place, the nature of his evil impulse that leads him to sin. His evil nature burns like a baker's fiery oven. Could be he has a different Yetzer Hara than you do. Like it says in Isaiah, it burns like a flaming fire. Somebody maybe who goes to the marketplace, not a lot. And most of the day he's standing in his home. He's sitting, he's at his home. Or maybe he is going all day to the marketplace, but his nature, his spiritual place, his nature is not as passionate. His natural nature is not as passionate. Because the evil impulse, the Yetzer Hara, is not equal in every person. One person's nature may be more passionate and others less so. The truth is, even someone who has an extremely passionate nature, and his job obligates him to be on the street corners all day. Remember, this is metaphorically, right? The street corners doesn't have to be the street corners. It means out in the world. He has no, the Alter Rebbe gives a caveat here. He has no excuse whatsoever for his sins. Mipnei umikre Rasha Gomer. And he is still termed a Rasha Gomer, an utter evildoer. Al asher ein pachad elikim leneged, for not having pachad elikim, fear of God, before his eyes. Ki haya loylis apik v'limshol al ruach tavasai shebelibai. For he should have controlled himself and restrained the feeling of desire in his heart. Remember, there's two different things. There's how you look at somebody else's situation and how every person looks at their own situation. So the way you're looking at somebody else's situation, you have to be dan lekavschus. You have to judge favorably in a sense, saying their situation is their situation. If I were in their shoes, who knows how, if I would be even worse than them, or not judge at all. But from their own perspective, they have to understand that this is not an excuse for them. They have to be able to control themselves and restrain their desire because mipnei pachad Hashem haroya kol maasav, for fear of God who sees all of their actions. As was explained above, that the mind has shaylet, controls, has supremacy over the heart by nature of one's birth. So truly, it's a great struggle. It's a great struggle to break one's evil nature, which burns like a fiery flame for the fear of God. Indeed, it is a nisayin mamish. It's a great test. V'hilkach, therefore, tzarach kol adam l'fi mashu mikaymayu min agrasei ba'avodas Hashem lishkol v'livchain ba'atzmai. Therefore, every man, every person has to weigh and examine his own position according to the standards of his place and rank in divine service. Are you putting up the right fight? Are you putting up the proper fight? Are you serving Hashem properly? Even the most dispassionate and clustered of men must often engage a battle with his evil inclination, both in the area of doing good and in that of turning away from evil. As the Alter Rebbe goes on to illustrate, what is the realm of doing good? To daven, to do davening bekavana, with prayer, not just to say the words, but to actually have kavana and engulf yourself in the prayers. Lishpay, nafshay, to pour out your soul. Lifnei Hashem, to God, b'chol koicha mamish, with all of your strength. Ad mitzvah hanefesh, to like wring out your soul. Ulehilcham im gut. So that's the first one. Ulehilcham im gufay, the nefesh habahamis shabai, and to wage war. Ulehilcham, yeah, to wage war with your body and your nefesh habahamis shabai that's in you. Hamoin im hakavana, b'mochama atzuma, crushing and grinding them like the dust. Ulavacham ulavchaktam ka'afar kaidem hatfila shachris ba'arvis midayim b'yim, crushing and grinding them like dust every single day before the morning and evening davening. V'gam b'shas hatfila, and also during prayer. Li'agia atzmai v'yagia nefesh, to exert yourself with a yagia nefesh. The words that Alter Rebbe is using are so powerful. But with the exertion of the spirit, the gias basar, and exertion of the body. So when looking at someone else, we have to look at every person as they are greater than we are. And that if we were in their place, who knows where we would be. And we have to know to ourselves that wherever we are, whatever level we're at, we can pull ourselves up. We can, whether it's regarding mitzvahs asay tov, like the Alter Rebbe's example of tefillah, where we can always strive to do better and better. Oh, I never clicked this. Let's go see what the Tehillim is for today. The Tehillim is chapters 18 to 22. And I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos. This Shabbos, I hope to see everybody in shul.